In 2026, enterprise security teams are operating with massive budgets and a sprawling arsenal of advanced defensive tools. Yet, if you ask risk leaders how they feel, the answer is almost universally the same: totally exposed. To understand why, we have to look at how organizations historically handled cyber risk. For years, threats like phishing campaigns, devastating ransomware strikes, or a vendor getting breached were treated as distinct, isolated events, anomalies that interrupted normal operations. This diagram shows the traditional timeline of governance, risk, and compliance programs. GRC was built to manage specific episodes. We relied on annual vendor assessments and quarterly compliance checklists to validate our defenses in a predictable rhythm. But adversaries don't operate on an audit schedule. Defending in rigid, cyclical intervals creates massive blind spots the moment an attacker stops being predictable. Today, those isolated events have been replaced by a state of permanent incident. Phishing has become constant background noise. Vulnerabilities slip in with every routine code update. Modern enterprises now operate entirely inside the breach. Look at this expanding space between the high-speed threat waves and the slow, scheduled defense pulses. This is the execution gap. It's the vulnerability zone created when adversaries operationalize their attacks faster than a company can govern its defenses. Attackers are slipping into environments through automated daily code changes, while defenders are stuck waiting weeks for the next scheduled risk review committee to meet. Organizations aren't exposed because they lack the right security tools. They are exposed because their operational speed is completely misaligned with the threats targeting them. A major driver behind this speed mismatch is artificial intelligence. AI has matured from an experimental capability into a highly scalable attack advantage, allowing bad actors to automate reconnaissance and generate adaptive attacks in real time. Take a real scenario from this year. A finance executive approves a massive wire transfer after a live voice call perfectly mimicking their CFO. There is no malware deployed, no firewall breached. It is pure trust manipulation, executed flawlessly at scale. The standard corporate response to this continuous threat is to expand security awareness training and run periodic phishing simulations. But there is a glaring flaw in that logic. Training assumes that humans will eventually spot the deception. The AI algorithms generating these deepfakes are specifically designed with the opposite assumption, that a human will inevitably fail. Because AI targets the human element with such precision, organizations are shifting toward behavioral anomaly detection and out-of-band verification. These systems verify the action itself rather than the person, acknowledging that in an AI-driven environment, human perception is no longer a reliable primary control. As companies try to move faster, their operational footprint pushes outward. To maintain modern speed, enterprises rely on hundreds of external vendors, thousands of API connections, and massive SaaS platforms. Third-party risk is now dependency risk. When one minor external node blinks offline, central operations instantly go dark, services halt. Yet we measure these dependencies with static questionnaires. An offline node might hold a green audit checkmark, but compliance badges are useless during system failures. Unmodeled disruptions in the supply chain now represent a more immediate threat to daily operations than the stereotypical outside hacker breaking into a server. Internally, rapid adoption of cloud infrastructure delivers incredible scalability, but the sheer complexity outpaces the governance models meant to secure it. The leading cloud vulnerability today is a total misunderstanding of shared responsibility. Companies buy expensive security tools that generate thousands of alerts, but without clear internal ownership, those alerts sit ignored. You get complete visibility with zero accountability. This internal disorganization is exactly what industrialized ransomware networks prey upon. Ransomware groups exploit these cloud gaps to extract sensitive data and trigger immediate regulatory scrutiny, often before an organization even realizes its files are being encrypted. Pushing for high-speed cloud innovation without embedding real-time governance into the process guarantees that you are leaving the door wide open for organized cybercrime. Closing this execution gap requires a structural shift. Risk leaders have to abandon periodic validation checks and move to continuous, real-time assurance. First, that means designing controls for human failure. Instead of relying solely on awareness training to stop deepfakes, organizations must implement mandatory, automated out-of-band verification for high-risk actions. Second, third-party risk management has to evolve. Static questionnaires must be replaced by dynamic mapping of critical service dependencies, tracking live uptime signals to measure actual operational resilience. Third, cloud exposure must be managed at the source. Automated security controls have to be embedded directly into engineering pipelines, ensuring developers and security teams have clear shared ownership before a single line of code goes live. The acceleration of cyber threats is permanent. Forcing a modern business to slow down for legacy compliance is impossible. The only path forward is structuring your defense to move just as fast. The organizations pulling ahead aren't necessarily the ones with the largest budgets. They're the ones that can align incoming risk signals, execute controls, and make informed decisions instantaneously. Effective governance today requires matching the adversary's velocity through active, continuous defense.